To order. Superintendent Downey's just running a couple of minutes late, and so is Mr. Bass, so they should be coming in very soon. Item number 1, request approval of salary schedules for 23-24, presented by Nisha Bamberg, Chief Financial Officer. Ms. Bamberg?
Good evening. Tonight we are going to present the proposed salary schedules for 2023-2024. As y'all know, this review of these salary schedules started with the Lean Frog analysis back in late 2021, and they started that analysis of the teacher salary schedules, and from there we've really expanded that analysis across all of our salary positions. And so based upon that review, our compensation committee did an extensive data-driven 6-month process to evaluate every single salary schedule that we had to make sure that it was fair and equitable across the district. And so tonight we are proposing the restructured salary schedules for 2023-2024 that includes a 2% teacher pay raise on the beginning teacher salary, uniform multipliers applied across all positions with yearly step increases for all employees every year, an application of multipliers for all certified positions based off the teacher pay raise, and then a merging and streamline of certain schedules for better clarification and for changes in the positions in the prior years. So we're very proud of the process. We're very proud of what we've been able to present to the board, and so tonight I'm asking for y'all's approval of the schedules. And I'll entertain any questions y'all might have.
Board members have any questions?
I have one question. There's a note on the proposed schedules that were provided to us that they're to be returned back to Ms. Carrier after.
Yes, sir.
This. Is it going to be posted on our website?
Yes, sir.
So it will be available for us to review
Yes, sir.
Later.
Yes, sir. The only reason we're picking them back up is because this copy doesn't have the coaching schedule in the back, and it doesn't. I'm sorry. The only reason we wanted to pick these back up is it doesn't include the coaching schedule in the back. I want to make sure the page numbers don't change with that. And if you notice, that note on the introductory section has a highlighted piece for me to drop the date in on the approval date. And then the cover, we're missing the cover. And so that's the only reason we're picking it back up. And then the official copy, of course, won't have drafts stamped across the bottom. So that's why we were picking it back up. Yes, sir.
Madam Chairman, with your permission. Oh, excuse me.
Mr. Bertrand?
Can you confirm the effective date? When is this new pay schedule going to start?
Absolutely. It's for the 2023-2024 school year. And so for all of your 12-month positions, they'll see that change on their July paycheck. For anything less than a 12-month, they'll see it on their August paycheck, because their July check actually relates back to the prior school year for those that are less than a 12-month position.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I just want to say one extra thing. When you look at the work involved in compiling this much information, I just wanted to say thank you to you and everybody involved.
Yes, sir.
In compiling this and coming up with it. I know it took many hours and a lot of thinking and a lot of collaboration between a lot of different people. So I just want to say thanks for everything you do.
Thank you.
And for everybody that was a part of this.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Any other board members?
Just for make sure I got this right, we had a meeting, we talked about it. No one's salary is going down.
Correct.
I want to
Correct.
make sure everybody understands that no one's going to lose money or their salaries are going to go down.
Correct. If there are a handful of positions that, with the restructure of the schedule, it would show that they would go down, but that employee will not go down at all. We're going to do a manual adjustment on any of those employees to make sure that they do not lose any pay.
I just want to make sure you understand.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Mickey, I've got you that you wanted to speak. I was just going to make sure there weren't any other board members.
Yes, ma'am.
I have one question. Is that going to take away from our already schedule for the bus operators and repairs? There's a step increase they already having?
No, ma'am. We took that into account to make sure that the that their current salary to what their step will be next year, that they won't have any kind of a decrease. And so we made sure that everybody's still going to go up their normal step. So we're comparing their current salary to the new salary on the new schedule on the new step to be able to get that. So, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Well, and one thing, so when I said that everybody's going to get a step increase every year, as majority of y'all know, like our teacher schedules, it's the same salary for 3 years, and then you do an actual increase, even though it shows on the schedule you're going steps up. I don't think the bus drivers had that, but I think the paras, you did. So it's that same thing. So now it's going to be a step increase with an actual increase in pay every year.
Well, see, at first, the bus driver, they only put the bus drivers in there. And I had to go back and argue the point that we intended for the paras too, because they're on the bus every day.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So the amazing thing with what we've done here and what we've been able to design is that step increase, the percentage of that step increase is the exact same for our certified positions and our support positions. Now, of course, not dollar amount, but the percentage is going to be the same increase across the board for all of our positions. And so it's a lot more uniform and a lot more fair and equitable across the board. So, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I'm an accountant, so I understand all this.
You do understand it.
And that you had for your slip? Okay. Any other board member discussion or questions? Okay, Mr. Bullard?
Madam Chairman, I'd make the motion that we approve the salary schedules as presented by Ms. Bamberg. And I want to second Mr. Bertrand's comments. You found some glaring issues that needed to be rectified years ago.
Yes, sir.
And, but thank you for all of your hard work.
Thank you.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Bass. Please raise your hand to vote. Passes unanimously. Thank you. Item number 2, request approval of band, choir, and orchestra allocations for 23-24 presented by Ms. Bamberg.
All right. Tonight, we're going to present for your consideration an increase in the band allocation for 2023-2024. My understanding is that the band allocation has not changed since we originally started this. So, as you can imagine, inflation has definitely hit within the band area, and there's been significant increases in costs that they're having there, and some of our bands are struggling some in that. So we definitely wanted to address it. And so instead of doing a flat rate per band every year, we're actually recommending going to a per pupil amount allocated to the bands with a set minimum and a set maximum based on the type of school that they are. And so that's what we're bringing tonight. This includes the band, the choir, and the orchestra for each of the schools. And so you can see the per pupil amounts that we're recommending, and then the minimum and the maximum for each of those locations.
Board members, any questions or comments?
Madam Chairman, I move that we accept this proposal and approve this increase.
Have a motion by Mr. Wiggins,
A second.
a second by Mr. Bertrand. Please vote by raising your hand. Yes. Approved unanimously. Thank you. And then number 3, lost my piece of paper. Request for approval of coaches' additional stipends and activity stipends increases for elementary, middle, and high school presented by Mitch Downey, Superintendent.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Mr. Rowland shared with you the outline of the specifics. Basically, this is an attempt to provide additional opportunities for students to be involved on the elementary, middle, and high school level. We've addressed some of the minor sports that have not been adequately covered based on the extreme growth they've had. I feel strongly about this proposal and the opportunity that it potentially will provide for student engagement and opportunities for them to belong to sports and organizations. And I know that I echo many of your opinions about our primary purpose here in the school system is provide opportunities for engagement and involvement and belonging to students, and we feel very confident that this is a major step in the right direction. So I would respectfully request that the board, if you do not have any questions of me, approve this proposal. But I'd be glad to answer any specific questions.
I've got questions.
Mr. Valty?
I called, excuse me, I called Mr. Rowland earlier because trying to learn this, I wanted to understand why volleyball would be considered a major sport, considering it just got here, and why something like cross-country would not be considered a major sport. And I would like to look and to see if we could if it's even possible, but I think, with mainly to cross-country, Benton and Parkway have got superb cross-country teams, and they're large, and they take a lot, and I think that maybe an idea of if they get to a certain enrollment, enough of people signing up for it, their stipend would raise. And I say that because Parkway's got 48 or 41 runners, Benton has got 30 this year. Their potential to have 40 to 50 as large as they're growing. Airline has a new cross-country coach that ran cross-country for Louisiana Tech. She is all in, and Airline is going. I have no doubt they're going to start growing as well. At Bossier and Houghton, they're not as big, and I get that, but I didn't know if maybe we could look at possibly tiering that. My brother's been a cross-country coach for 17 years, and he's had 48 kids being able to go run for college, which is more than basketball, football, and baseball put together. I think it would be an incentive for our cross-country coaches, say for Houghton, that would be more incentive to get that higher stipend, to get more people signed up, giving them more of an opportunity to get college scholarships, because myself, I was never that good in football or basketball and baseball, even though I played them all. I was a superb percussionist, which is what paid for my college. So I'm very grateful for the band stuff, but I just think it would provide more opportunity if these coaches would motivate these kids, more kids, to grow their program. And I talked to Mr. Newman about it. I talked to Creighton about it earlier today, and I just, that my 2 cents, if anybody has any thoughts on that.
Well, I think that there are 2 things. Obviously, first of all, sports are sometimes specific to each school, depending on the interest and the involvement and the expertise that coach may or may not have. And so the board can give us the latitude to adjust the stipend up to, what a major sport would be paid based on participation. We just have to add that caveat, which that is something that we would be glad to entertain and take on to make sure that we are compensating people equitably for the investment they make, like your brother and others that take minor sports and turn them into major sports because of the passion they have for what they do. So if the board's pleasure is to allow us the latitude to adjust the individual sports based on participation up to the amount that a major sport is paid, that would be something we would gladly accept the responsibility for.
Mr. Newman?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'll look for you over there. Madam Chairman, I'd like to request that the board ask staff to come back with an evaluation of the minor sports and give us some additional insight so we can make some decisions in the near future about this. Participation numbers, the things Mr. Downey mentioned, if we could get some participation numbers by sport, by school, and give us some additional information to look at, and then possibly be able to address this into the future, if that would be okay with everybody?
Well, I would just add, we've looked at all of the numbers, and we know that the numbers fluctuate from school to school depending on the individual sport. And so if the board, in an effort to approve this proposal, would just add the addendum that we have the latitude to adjust according to participation, then that would cover the concerns that you and Mr. Faulting have. And then we'd be able to communicate this to the coaches so that they can immediately begin to seek out additional sponsors to make sure that we provide as many opportunities in August as we possibly can. So I would just respectfully request that you add that latitude to this proposal, and my request would be that this proposal be approved this evening.
Okay. Mr. Cochran?
I had a question. Do we have a number of participation now that deciphers major versus minor?
Well, numbers haven't typically been the determining factor for a minor versus a major. We mirror the LHSAA, which usually categorizes sports. That we even have minor minors. So you have a major minor and a minor minor, and depending on how far in the weeds you want to get with it. But like I said, all of that fluctuates depending on the specific school site. So a sport that may be a minor minor in school A may be a major in school C. So there's no way to make a one-size-fits-all, and that's why I continue to ask or request, allow us to have the latitude to take a case-by-case analysis of the participation at each school to be able to adjust that equitably. And, without even naming names, we have different examples of coaches throughout the parish that do exemplary jobs, and they may have 50 or 60 kids in their program, and across town, for whatever reason, it may be the interest or other things that are pulling students away to other areas, there may be 10 or 12. So I think it's a good idea that we have that latitude to adjust. And, back to your point, that the LHSA uses those categories to try to just separate and organize those sports. Obviously, each individual district should have the ability to identify those sports that are majors. And so I think all of that can be taken care of and addressed with that latitude.
Mr. Bass?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve this as presented and give the superintendent or their designee the latitude to adjust this based on participation in the future.
Have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll give that a second, but I also have a question
Okay.
for clarification. Do these stipends stack, or how is that determined? Is so like a baseball coach that's also an athletic director, does he get the AD pay and the baseball pay, or how does it stack, or do we know? Or?
Yeah, they do. A two-sport coach, which an athletic coordinator would be counted as a sport, is a 9-month employee, and he gets an additional month's pay, plus the allotment for the sport that he is an assistant or a head coach in. So, yeah, they do stack if they're two-sport coaches.
Okay, so he would get the AD and that one stacked plus an extra month of salary.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. That was just me for clarification. So it does stack with the extra month if it's major
Yes, sir.
sport. Okay.
And I wouldn't, that does not always, 99% of that time is accurate. If you have a coach that, and those are becoming unicorns, by the way, but if you have a coach that coaches two major sports, he gets those additional allotments.
Like a head of one and assistant of another?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for the clarification. But I second.
Okay.
Mr. Bass.
I have some questions. The basic proposal, I have no issue, but help me out here. As I understand it, we're compensating our coaches already. If they major, minor, two major sports, whatever the case may be. And if I'm understanding correctly, we're now saying, well, we want to compensate beyond that.
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay, what are you saying you want?
We're adding additional stipends. So right now, in the middle school, there are 6 stipend coaches.
Total.
And we're cutting kids And I'll just give you an example. I really didn't want to, I'll just use this example. So let's say 120 kids come out for 7th grade football, and we cut 80 of them. And so we're asking for additional stipends. We're not increasing the pay of any coach that's currently coaching at the middle school or high school level.
What you're saying, you want to add an
We
additional
want more people to
assistant.
provide more opportunities for kids.
Thank you for clarification on that point, because that was my understanding. We are already approving additional assistant coaches at the middle school.
And high school.
And high school level, but especially the middle school level. And so that, in my mind, that would address what I assume the concern was.
Yes, sir.
The compensation will be
What
addressed.
Mr. Faulting is talking about is the differentiation between the pay that a minor sport coach gets, which we were requesting to move from $1,500 to $2,000, which I did the math the other night. I think it's about $1.25 per hour. But anyway, that's another discussion. But so he's talking about a minor sport because the coach has invested so much in it, it becomes a major sport at that school, and giving us the latitude to be able to compensate that coach at a rate commensurate with a major sport, which that fee is already set. So that wouldn't be above what we already do.
And the determining criteria for major, minor.
Well, that would be
Is that an objective measurement, or is it subjective?
I think it could be an objective measurement, and that would include a conversation with the principal at that site and the number of participants and the attention that that sport draws to itself. So I don't think that would be very difficult. You're talking about probably 2 or 3 different examples. That's not a rampant example. We've seen powerlifting grow, and we're asking to add female powerlifting. Volleyball, we added, I want to say, 20, Mr. Rowland, 2016? 2015. It's exploded. We now have, it was a minor sport when we added it. We now have a freshman team, a JV team, and a varsity team. And so that latitude that Mr. Bass and Mr. Newman made the motion for and seconded would just allow us to adjust based on need at each individual site.
But are there, I'm sorry, major to minor, it is a discretionary decision. It is not determined by hard objective numbers. In other words, if participation in a particular sport increases beyond 40, then it then elevates to major. As it is right now, it's discretionary under what we're addressing right now. I think we'd be opening ourselves up to some criticism, both outside and within, unless we can justify it based upon objective, clear-cut criteria. I just don't. I don't think it would be wise for us to open that door. I'm not opposed to what you're proposing. It's just I think it needs to be a little more structured.
Well, I think we can easily assign a number for cross-country, if that number is 30 or that number is 40. But I think it's clear for people that are at the school site and have been involved in extracurriculars for a long time to be able to determine the impact that individual sport has on that school and that student body and that community. And so I don't think that would be a heavy lift at all. I think that probably we've used the LHSA guidelines in the past, and we need to have the latitude to be able to be flexible and reward people that go above and beyond. And so I have no fear whatsoever that it will be misused or abused. Mr. Rowland and myself are continuously in conversations with high school and middle school coaches, even the extracurricular people at the elementary level about, what we're doing, why we're doing, justifying what we're doing. So even though you do have a valid point and a concern, I have no concern about that being abused or misused. Mr. Rowland, do you have opinion on that?
One thing that we put on there was that all the stipends and the payment for extra duties would be determined not only with the site-based administrator, but also with district-level input. And so when we met with our coaches, we let them know, and our principals, that we would come around and we would discuss this collaboratively, one-on-one with them. We would all work together to make sure we had this. But no, I don't have any, I have total confidence that we can determine who deserves that stipend for the extra students versus, a program that may just have 6 or 7 in the program.
Add this, please, and I know we've kind of gone a little long on this, but each school turns in a stipend sheet every year, each high school, each middle school, each elementary school. On that sheet, every person that is participating as a coach or a sponsor is listed, and the specific activity that they're responsible for is listed as well. So there is oversight, there are checks and balances.